Hi everyone, I'm Connie. Last episode, I talked about imposter syndrome. How no matter what I achieved, some part of me kept asking, did I actually deserve this or did I just get lucky? Today, I want to talk about something that sits right underneath that. Because if you are always chasing the next thing to prove you deserve the last thing, at some point, you have to ask what happens when you never stop chasing at all. Welcome to Connie's Diaries. I've been busy for basically my whole life, and for a long time, I thought that was just who I was. When I was a student, I told myself I had to work hard. That was the rule. Study hard, get the grades, don't stop, no excuses. Then I became a teacher, and somehow, working hard turned into something else entirely. I want to tell you exactly what that looked like, because when I say it out loud now, even I get a bit shocked. At my busiest point, I had about 70 students. I was teaching 13 or 14 hours a day, back to back, with maybe 30 minutes in between to eat, breathe, get to the next class. And at the same time, I was still writing my dissertation. So after 14 hours of teaching, I start writing. Some nights I didn't stop until morning. I did that for months. And then my body just stopped cooperating. I lost my voice completely. I mean that literally. I couldn't talk. The one tool I used all day, every day, just gave out. That's where I want to start today. Because at the time, losing my voice felt like a setback, an inconvenience, something to push through, not something to listen to. I've since read that this is actually incredibly common among what researchers call high achievers. People whose sense of worth gets tied to output. There's a term for it, contingent self-esteem. It basically means your self-worth goes up and down depending on what you produce that day. And the studies on this are almost funny in a dark way. People like this are usually very motivated, very driven, and also more anxious, more emotionally drained, without necessarily connecting the dots as to why. I didn't connect the dots either, not for years. Looking back at that season, 70 students, 14-hour day, midnight dissertation sessions. I don't remember feeling like I was drowning. That's the strange part. I remember feeling proud. Every new student felt like proof that I was good at what I did, proof that people trust me. Every fully booked day felt like a small win. And I just kept stacking wins on top of each other without ever stopping to ask why I needed so many, so constantly. Even when my voice started going, even in the days leading up to it, when it was already strained, already hoarse, I kept teaching. I remember thinking, I'll rest after this week, after this batch of classes, after the dissertation chapter is done. There was always an after. And when my voice finally gave out completely, I physically could not stand in front of a class and speak. That was the first time my body made a decision my mind refused to make. It forced a stop I wouldn't give myself. I've since learned that this isn't just a personal quirk of mine. It's a pattern researchers see again and again in high performers. That's an idea that when your identity becomes fused with your output, rest doesn't feel like rest. It feels unsafe. Like if you are not producing, you are not sure who you are or whether you still matter. And one thing that really stuck with me, some people don't slow down until their body physically forces them to. A cough that won't go away, exhaustion that won't lift. In my case, a voice that simply stopped working. It's almost like the body keeps a score the mind refuses to read. What's strange is, when I actually trace it back, this wasn't new behavior. It didn't start with teaching. It started with the university entrance exam, the public exam that decides everything, or at least it feels that way when you are 17. In the months before the exam, I studied constantly, and I mean constantly, to the point where if my friends asked me to go out, even for an hour, I'd feel this wave of guilt just considering it. Like an hour out with friends was an hour I was stealing from my future. I remember genuinely believing that wasting even a single minute not studying could be the difference between getting in or not getting in. So I said no, over and over. I stayed in. I studied. And I remember the moment I finished the very last paper of the entire exam, putting my pen down, walking out of the hall. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel excited about what came next. I felt relief. Just relief. Like I'd been holding my breath for months and could finally exhale. Looking back, that relief should have told me something. It wasn't the relief of finishing something joyfully. It was the relief of survival, of finally being allowed to stop. But I didn't read it that way at the time. I just moved on to the next thing that needed all of me. Then teaching happened. And even after that, even after my body had quite literally shut down a part of itself to make me stop, I didn't actually stop the underlying pattern. I just changed what I was busy with. I founded Couch Potato Education, and the exact same engine restarted underneath a new name. New business, new title, same instinct. Keep moving, keep proving something, fill every space. I didn't consciously choose that. It just felt like the natural next step. Like, of course, a founder works this hard. Of course, this is what building something looks like. Except this time, it looked quieter and honestly harder to notice. Since founding the company, I don't think I've taken a proper day off. Not one where my brain actually switched off. I work wherever I go. On holiday, at dinner, lying in bed at midnight. It doesn't matter where my body is. My mind is still at the company. And here's the part that took me a while to even admit to myself. It's not just that I have too much to do. It's that I finish one project, one milestone, one thing, and within minutes, I'm already on to the next idea. I don't let myself sit in the wind. I move straight to what's next. And it's not even just what's next. It's two directions at once. Part of me is constantly trying to perfect what already exists. Tweak this, improve that, make the current thing better. And at the exact same time, another part of me is dreaming up brand new things to build. Both at once, every single day. The problem is, time doesn't stretch to match how much I want to achieve. There are only so many hours, but my brain doesn't seem to know that. It just keeps generating new ideas, new improvements, new standards to hit, regardless of whether there's actually room for any of it. So it's not really about being busy with tasks anymore. It's that my brain itself never stops. Even in moments where there's nothing to do, there's still something being planned, refined, or read over. It took me a long time to notice that founder whose brain never switches off was just teacher with 70 students wearing a different outfit, which was just hardworking student before that. 3 completely different chapters of my life, one identical pattern running quietly underneath all of them, just changing shape each time. When I started reading into this, the brain that won't stop, even the body finally does, I found there's actual research on exactly this experience. Psychologists call it rumination, and it's distinct from ordinary reflection. Reflection is useful, it's purposeful. You revisit something to learn from it, and then you move on. Rumination doesn't do that. It just loops, same thoughts again and again, without ever arriving anywhere new. And the tricky part is, it doesn't feel like a problem while it's happening. It feels like productivity, like you are being responsible by continuing to think about it. There's also the idea some researchers call the moving goalpost. The moment you actually hit a milestone, the satisfaction doesn't last. It evaporates almost immediately, and it gets replaced by an urgent need for the next win, which, if I'm honest, describe exactly what I described a moment ago. Finishing one thing and instantly needing the next. And that's a physical cause to this too, not just an emotional one. Research suggests this kind of constant mental looping can actually make it harder to focus, harder to switch between tasks, harder to think clearly. The very things high achievers pride themselves on. So the more your brain refuses to switch off, the worse it may actually get at the thing you are trying so hard to protect. That one hit me hard, honestly. The very trait I thought was fueling my success might be the thing quietly working against it. Here's what surprises me most. Looking back, None of it felt like a problem while it was happening. It felt like winning. It felt like ambition. It felt like exactly what a serious, hardworking person is supposed to do. Nobody sits you down at any point and says, hey, your identity is becoming fused with your productivity. It happens so quietly, one busy season at a time, and it keeps getting rewarded the whole way. Good grades, fully booked class schedules, a growing company. Every reward reinforces the belief that this is just who you are, and this is just how working looks like. I don't think the answer is stop being ambitious. I'm still ambitious. I still want to build things, and I'm proud of what couch potato education has become. But if I've asked myself one question I never used to ask, if I took all of it away, the company, the classroom, the achievements, would I still know who I am underneath it? Honestly, I'm still learning the answer to that. I don't think it's a question you answer once. I think it's one you keep asking, especially in the moments when you are tempted to fill your calendar again instead of sitting with the quiet. So, if any part of this sounds familiar, if being busy has quietly become the way you prove you are worth something, here's the one thing I'd leave you with. You don't have to stop achieving. I haven't, and I don't think I will. Just start noticing the moment I'm working hard turns into I only exist when I'm working hard. That gap between the two is usually where the truth is waiting. This has been Connie's diary. Until next time, keep becoming.